Visit from an ex-girlfriend on acid. A woman wearing heirlooms from another country showed up on my door on acid, with a necklace and the diamonds on her fingers, the equivalent of what I make in a year. I couldn't believe she took the bus in that condition, but she liked it. At the moment, around a bend, and it was bending her diffused attention to the ordinary, now infused with greater importance than an epic. The momentum of the lethargic left her standing in the room and swaying slightly in the shifting parallels of sunlight filtered through a bamboo curtain on an open window. She was saying things, whatever struck her, like a serious little girl of 42, resembling an eccentric gypsy made up by her escort, and a effeminate fellow, looking like a parody of herself. A parody her character was shining through. No matter what was in her hair, there may have been a bird in there, along with tinsel. She was wearing a skirt of gold lame and phosphorescent stockings. Later on the roof, she was exclaiming, "I have $1,000,000 legs." They glittered in the sunlight, and she named the jewels she could see in them. A woman I used to live with, who was taking chances, leaving me to care about it or to worry, who was highly impressionable and even said with truth and beauty dancing on the head of any acid queen that she could see how things become uncomfortable as premonitions of a nightmare flicker on the horizon. So she carefully steered the conversation away from what was tenuous and back into the matter at hand, a gumdrop she believed more precious than the opal on her finger. After a while, the escort offered me a joint. Although I was transparent enough, she was picking up the slightest fluctuation in my attitude, as if a visible aura she was sensing with the radar of a child. You couldn't tell what she would find amazing or uninteresting, so I brought her things, careful in considering what associations might be generated in her mind. The negative not invited to this afternoon communion. I was feeling a strain of watching someone I care about was walking on a high wire for the first time, with a parasol of her awareness acting like a parachute, a paranormal woman not to be refuted. Hansel and Gretel updated. Once upon a time, there was an old woman who would kill teenagers and eat them. She lived in Marin. And her home was covered with marijuana plants. When the high school students would come up to her house in the woods to get some pot, she would invite them in, get them stoned, and when they were so high they couldn't see straight, push them into the oven. Considering they were full of THC, it was like making pot brownies, except it was smoked high school students. One day, a boy and girl were walking by after school and saw the pot plants all over the house. They walked up and were pulling off leaves when the old lady invited them in for a smoke. The girl was suspicious. She was an honor student who wanted to be a nurse, and this didn't seem quite right. Her boyfriend was a lowlife, but she put up with it because psychosexually she needed to feel like she was slumming in bed or she couldn't come. But that's another story. While her boyfriend was getting high with the old woman, she just pretended to inhale. She wandered around the place, and glancing out the back window, she saw some bones in the hot tub and a baseball cap with the name of her high school on it. She knew something was amiss. Math was her specialty, so she put 2 and 2 together and came up with homicidal stoner cannibal witch. She pretended she was stoned, slowing down her reaction time and not finishing sentences. When the old woman showed Hansel the oven where she dried her marijuana, Gretel realized she meant to remove him from the realm of the living. In other words, to perform a Hanselectomy. Gretel had spent too much time on the behavioral modification of her stoner boyfriend to lose him now. So she was only protecting her investment when she pushed the old woman into the oven, slammed the door, and cooked her goose. The boyfriend was shocked out of his mind. "That's elder abuse," he said. And in fact, the girl was arrested, but since she was a minor, she only did a year in the juvenile detention center. The boyfriend smoked all of the old woman's pot and became permanently spaced out, so he moved to Bolinas.